Hey everyone, I am live from Broadway Street. This is the north end of Longboat Key, and one of our viewers notified us of some flooding on some of these side streets, but as I was driving heading north, I realized that the flooding is also now impacting Gulf of Mexico Drive, which is the main stretch of Longboat Key. I'm not sure how far down you can see, but there's actually someone walking through this flooding right now. It's a couple inches deep right now. We're gonna walk through it and we're gonna show you some of the deepest parts, so just be careful because there is some storm surge related flooding now impacting different areas in Sarasota and Manatee counties. I know that we've been updating you on those, but continue to monitor our social media accounts and we'll post those. But for right now, this is Broadway Street on Longboat Key. You can see there's some warning signs here right now. There were also some warning signs on some other side streets throughout Longboat Key, but this is minor. We are expecting possible storm surge of up to 2 feet. That's from Manatee County. They gave that warning yesterday, and today they declared a state of emergency. I'm on the Manatee County side of Longboat Key right now. There have been some cars driving through here, so if you are driving through, just proceed with caution. For those of you who are tuning in, I am on Broadway Street in Longboat Key, and right now this is just 1 or 2 inches deep at the moment. Nothing crazy, but it gets a lot deeper as we head further east. And so you have this gentleman right here just taking a photo. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's a little wet, I would say so. And so as I'm heading further east, I noticed it's getting deeper, and this isn't the only street impacted. When I was heading north, there were multiple side streets that were impacted and bits of Gulf of Mexico Drive, so especially on the side closer to the Gulf on the west side, there was some flooding impacting there as well, so just be careful for those of you who are driving. Okay, so I'm going to continue to walk down, but I just want to show you how deep it's going to be in different parts. Oh goodness. So I brought my handy dandy yardstick that I keep at my desk for situations like this. So this one, we're in 3 inches of flooding right now. 2.5 to 3 inches. And this is definitely one of those situations you're going to want to be careful if you find yourself in an area with flooding like this. You don't know what is in the water, so just be very careful as you're walking through. And it's starting to now go up on lawns. This grass right here is soaked. I can definitely feel it on my ankles as I'm walking through. It's getting deeper. So I'm gonna get out of the way as this truck is driving through so I don't get splashed, because I think we've seen enough videos of reporters getting splashed on the side of the road, so I don't want to be the next one. This is on Broadway Street on Longboat Key. It's on the east side of Gulf of Mexico Drive. And so it's definitely getting deeper as I'm heading further east on this street. We have another car attempting to drive through. You can see that this, the flooding here for this pickup truck that's about to drive through this Nissan, it's nearly reaching its front bumper. Looks like that truck got stuck in some mud for a little bit, but it's able to move. Yep, this is right near the Mar Vista Dockside restaurant. Thanks, Molly. It's right near like the Observer building as well. And so thankfully these cars are driving through very slowly. Thank you so much. And so according to Bob Harrigan, this is some of the preview of the storm surge that we're expected to experience. We're expecting up to 2 feet, but Bob was also telling me this is because of higher, oh my goodness, he told me that one street over it's even worse. So this is because of some higher than usual tide And when we had the high tide around 1:30 or 2 p.m., it was even, that was when we had the high tide, and that's why we're dealing with this right now. This is the north end of Longboat Key. Yes, exactly. The advantage of four-wheel drive. All right, we're a little bit deeper. Let's see. So right now we are 5.5 inches deep. Flooding right here. Feels a lot deeper though. But so when we were just a couple steps further west, we were only 3 inches of flooding, but now we're at 5.5. According to Bob, the 2 feet number, the tide was 2 feet higher than normal. So we are expecting those higher tides. Hey, how's it going? Expecting higher tides. We're expecting storm surge of up to 2 feet. And here right now, this is 6 inches. And so now as we're getting deeper, it's starting to splash into my boots. So you can tell we are getting in the deeper waters here. Oh my goodness. So this is a street right here that's completely flooded. So this is Lois Avenue on Longboat Key on the north end. And it's even deeper over here, and I'm not sure how far I'm going to be able to get because the flooding is so high. All right, so right now we have 10.5 inches of flooding right here. And as you can see, it's getting very murky, especially because I'm in an area near a lot of lawns. There's a lot of grass. You can see all of this debris floating in the water right here. So I'm in more than 10 inches of flooding right now. And remember, Michael is still hundreds of miles away. So he's not even close right now. We are going to have reporters out on Anna Maria Island, where expected to get the most impact of our coverage area further north. So we will have reporters out there overnight monitoring the storm. Yeah, Michelle, turn around, don't drown. I'm not going to walk very much further here, but just to show you guys who are tuning in. So we have approximately 10 inches of flooding right here. And we have cones, and I noticed there's a couple construction sites around here too. And so this truck keeps getting stuck in the mud right here. So this is common. You can even see a little bit further south. You can see the bay through the trees. There's a little gap right there. That's the bay side. But you can see that this water goes all the way through, and you can kind of see the water very closely. You have to look. It's pushing toward this street over here. The Gulf of Mexico Drive is very slightly flooded. I would just say a couple of inches, and it's nothing extreme. It's nothing that you won't be able to drive through, but just drive with caution. The middle of the road is clear, but the sides of the road do have some water on them. This is the north end of Longboat Key. This particular road is Broadway Street. It's right near the Mar Vista Dockside restaurant. So what we're likely experiencing, according to our chief meteorologist, Bob Harrigan, this flooding is likely from the storm surge, and we also experience some high tide, higher than usual tide, when it came up around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And so we are live on our newscast right now. We do have an ABC 7 at 4 o'clock newscast. So for most up-to-date information on the weather conditions and Hurricane Michael, you're going to want to tune in right now. Bob will have a couple of updates throughout the show. And then, of course, we have our newscasts at 5, 5:30, and 6, and 7. And so right here, this is the Mar Vista Dockside Restaurant. A sign, we are open, but all the streets leading to it are completely flooded right now. Cars able to get through, but it is about 10 inches in this spot right here. So this is a truck sitting up pretty high, and you can see them trying to get through. And so that just caused all the rain to go, or excuse me, all the water to go into the boots. That's how high we're sitting right now. And so one of our viewers who came from this direction told us that it gets even worse as we head down this road. This is Lois Avenue. And remember, we're not even expected to get the worst of the storm. That's supposed to hit around the Panhandle. So this is really, we're getting the outskirts of it. And so, you know, we have to keep those in mind of those who are in that area going to be experiencing a lot worse. Yeah, no dry feet up in here. And so we have another truck leaving the Mar Vista restaurant, making a splash. Hey. For those of you who were asking about red tide and dead fish, I don't smell red tide, but also I have a cold, so I'm not the best person to ask right now. I don't smell any dead fish. I know usually that smell is pretty strong. I don't smell that here on Longboat Key. I'm not barefoot. I have rain boots on. But as far as dead fish, I don't see any floating. But we actually are, because a lot of people have been asking, is this going to flush out the red tide? Our reporter Taylor Torgano is getting you those answers, and she's going to have that report coming up for you at 5 o'clock. So make sure to tune in right after Bob does his weather segment. We will have Taylor Torgano with that story, because she's going to answer whether or not this is going to help the red tide. So for those of you who are tuning in, this is a side street on Longboat Key. This is on the east side of the main drag. So that main drag is Gulf of Mexico Drive. That road is not experiencing flooding like this. There is some water on the road, but mostly it's on the sides. I notice more of it on the Gulf side than on the bay side of Gulf of Mexico Drive. But there's no problem for cars that are driving through. They're able to get through safely. But this is going to be a problem for people who live on these side streets here. And this isn't the only side street that's experiencing this flooding. When I was driving north on Longboat Key, it was not, I mean, it was pretty bad on a couple of different side streets. And of course, the further you got toward the bay side, that's where it was, you know, getting even worse. So this seems to be the worst of it. Gulf of Mexico roadway isn't too bad. All right, so we got a little bit deeper, and it's now above 11 inches. So this flooding approaching 11.5 inches here on Longboat Key. How's it going? I'm gonna get up here on what used to be. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
How's the rest of the key? This is Facebook Live, so.
Oh, we live right there.
Oh, okay. Think you'll be okay getting to your house?
Yeah, I think so.
Good thing you have a truck.
Yeah. Earlier today, it was 2 feet deep.
Really?
Yeah.
On this side part?
On that Russell Street.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's what I'm trying to get down there, but my rain boots can only handle so much flooding.
Yeah.
So, well, just be careful, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
So, one of the people that couple actually lived just a couple houses down. They say Russell Street, which is a couple feet over, they say that's where the worst of it is, and it's 2 feet over there. Unfortunately, I'll walk a little bit toward it. I'm actually approaching a lawn. Don't want to step too farther on it. But when you're in the roadway, it's a lot deeper. So as you can see, they're driving very slowly because the flooding here is so bad. And so for those of you who are tuning in, this is about 1 foot deep flooding here on Longboat Key. I'm on the north end. I'm on the bay side of Gulf of Mexico Drive, and the flooding is so deep, my rain boots aren't really helping much. And so this drain right here can't keep up with all of this water. Also, as you can see, there's a lot of debris as well, mostly just dried up grass and things. But this is a drain that can't keep up with all of it. Yes, there's some flooding in the city of Sarasota as well. Faye, thank you for that. I didn't see a lot of cars in the Mar Vista parking lot, so that makes sense. So it's not as deep in this section right here. I was able to step down without a problem. So this is closer to 10 inches. There is some flooding Bayfront Park in Sarasota for those who were asking about the Marina Jack area. Oh my goodness. So you just kind of have to be careful where you step here because we don't want it to be too deep. And it's tough because the water is so murky, so you can't see how deep it is. So I'm braving the flooding and going to what I was told is deeper flooding over here. And so I was told that this is one of the worst parts on Longboat Key right now. This is Russell Street. Yep, this is right off Broadway. And there's another drain right here. You can't see it because of the murky water. All right, so this is 14.5 inches of flooding. And a lot of the side streets on Longboat Key, at least of the north end, they're not looking this bad, but they are experiencing flooding right now. And so I'm trying to stay on the curb as it gets deeper. But you can see that flooding goes all the way east and all the way west. Bob Harrigan says this is because of the higher than usual tides. We were expecting high tide, and this is higher than normal, so that's why we are experiencing this flooding. And it's not just a problem here on Longboat Key, it's also a problem in the city of Sarasota right now. Major waves crashing in Venice. They had to close the South Jetty. So a lot of areas already impacted, and yet Michael is still a couple hundred miles away. And so these driveways kind of turn into infinity pools. Before you know it, you're in 1 foot deep of water. And so these lawns and these driveways impacted as well. And so this used to be grass. Now it's just really wet grass. But I was told these are some of the worst parts here on Longboat Key. This is 12 inches. Daniel, it's funny you say that because my boyfriend got a new battery for his Jeep, which is lifted for storms like this because he, wants to have a high-up car. So those who have higher cars are very grateful, I'm sure, in situations like these. Or a jet ski. So you can barely even see the tip of the grass here. And when I point it down, you guys can see the color of it. But you can see if you look in the distance, you can see the water is moving toward this direction. Most of that is because of the wind. But it's just flowing on the street as if it's a river in itself. So on the grass, it's 6 inches deep itself. And then when you go in the street, that's foot deep. So for those of you who live in this area, if you're traveling through this area, just be very careful. This can be very dangerous. You don't know what's in this water, so stay clear of it if possible. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in. I'm going to sign off. We actually have a newscast at 4. I'm not sure if it hit 4:30 yet. Yep, the South Jetty in Venice. Yes?
I say the water's already went down a good 5 inches.
Really? Yeah, someone said it was 2 feet earlier.
We're over this step.
Oh my goodness. Well, just be careful. Yes, the South Jetty in Venice, for those of you who are asking, was impacted by it. But yes, we have a newscast at 4 until 4:30, and then again at 5, 5:36, and 7. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will be coming to you live overnight. We'll be doing updates on our social media accounts as the storm heads north and approaches the Panhandle. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll keep you updated on social media.